Welcome, everyone. I am Nicole Moore, founder of the Lasting Love series, where the best love, sex, and relationship experts show you how to create truly amazing, passionate, intimate, lasting love. And I created this series for you because I want you to know that lasting love is possible. It's not just a myth. And if you want it, all of our guest experts are going to be sharing with you their personal tools, their tips, their insights, everything they use to help themselves and their clients create and sustain lasting love. And I'm really excited to have our guest expert here today, Dr. Ray Doktor. He's a PsyD relationship coach, marriage and pre-marriage counselor, and a dating expert who specializes in relationships, intimacy, and communication. And he also treats stress, emotional trauma using clinical experience combined with spiritual psychology, which I love. And he has a doctorate in clinical psychology, and he practices in Santa Monica, California. And also really cool, he shared the same stage with Marianne Williamson, who I love, and Bruce Lipton and Eckhart Tolle. So he's really a great expert. And I'm just really excited to have you here, Dr. Ray.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So why don't you just start off by telling us, a little bit about your story for our viewers. How did you get into this field, and what's a little bit of your story in terms of creating love in your own life?
All right. Well, basically, I used to work more in mental health. I still do, but when it comes down to it, when working with individuals, that if I was able to work on a relationship with themselves, then it bettered the relationships in all areas in their lives. So that's what it comes down to. And there are some people who just want to be alone, of course, but for the most part, most people want to be in a relationship with someone. So if they're feeling good, if they're feeling passion in their lives, they're able to create that in their lives in all areas, and that means even work. And so for me to kind of turn, I guess, my practice focusing on that direction, it allowed me to get to the core immediately, rather than talking about these linear things of we change these other things with my word, or if I were to change this one thing about this one person, then maybe be better. It's about teaching a person to be more responsible and accountable and figuring out in their life right now and how they feel with themselves, if they feel passionate, if they're happy, if they are excited about life. Because when it comes down to it, as you noticed already, when a person enters a room and they're happy and they're vibrant and stuff, you want to talk to them. We're vibratory beings. And of course, if someone enters a room and they're kind of depressed or not happy, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to go over there. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with that person. It's just saying is that, if someone is feeling good, that's what makes us attractive. And this seminar is called Finding Lasting Love, correct? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, right? So close to that? Okay. So I think it has to begin with the love within yourself first. And most people are trying to find it outside themselves. So a big part of what I do is teaching people to kind of remove those blocks or those old paradigms that are blocking them from experiencing the love that we're talking about here today.
Yeah. Dr. Ray, I feel like a lot of people, they think that they're unhappy because they don't have the relationship that they want, or because their relationship isn't working. But really, it does start on the inside. But how do we, I know you work with tons of people on this. How do we get happy? How do we remove all that stuff that's preventing us from going in a room and shining brightly? Because most people are walking around and they're on dim right now. So they're not really attracting. So how do we amp up our light and break free from all the stuff that's preventing us from attracting the right person for us?
Now, I'm going to go through this quickly because I definitely want people to take this information down. They can put it on pause and do these exercises. But a ground zero exercise that I do with people would be, I would imagine themselves being, say, a little boy or a little girl and being in a room with their parents, their caregivers. And we're not judging. We're just being discerning as far as what was the experience like as far as growing up and their type of conversations that they were having, the overall energy. In other words, if you grew up in a home where there's depression or there's alcoholism or whatever, we don't have to go into those psychological ramifications or whatever, but that might be kind of your MO. That might be like your experiences. That becomes your survival mechanisms. Therefore, when you attract partners, unless they are exactly like that or completely opposite. For example, if you are always used to fighting, no resolution, you might be dating someone. The moment that there's tension, you jump out. You're thinking, my relationship's not working because you saw it not working with, say, your parents. So I take them back to this ground zero place, and that might be closing our eyes, maybe, and getting clear, imagine themselves feeling it, being it, and experiencing it, and really recognizing with discernment, with an open heart, this is what I experience. And therefore, either this is what I continue to attract unconsciously, or when anything seems to represent this, I get out without finding some type of resolution and not going deeper. Therefore, you go from one partner to another and you become like a serial dater trying to find that perfect relationship. But that perfect relationship doesn't exist outside yourself. It's the perfect relationship within yourself. And so when you can find that harmony within, you can, and of course, you might attract a person you're not going to be with, but however, in a relationship, you don't know if you go deeper, if you don't try to go beyond the tension. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I try to help people to do, to support them, to find the techniques and tools to move beyond that. Because whether you're going to be with this person forever or not, by healing that, being able to communicate that, and being able to mirror aspects of yourself that you have maybe not understood, you might heal old childhood stuff in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. And what do we do? So say, like, for example, someone grew up in a home where there's a lot of fighting and they recognize, okay, I attract people who I fight with. What's the step after you're aware of it? Then how do you change it within yourself so you can attract someone else, a different kind of person?
It's a good question. So the first step, again, is like learning what you grew up with. The second step is actually looking at getting clear what type of relationship you want. I mean, the only way for relationships to last today is to break out of these old paradigms and beliefs. For example, a lot of people stuck together, say, because women really depended on men. Today, women are very independent. They don't need a man. And very much men don't need women to take care of them. So we're immersed in this kind of culture now where, we've both have become very independent. We don't know what roles to play. And people are still getting married, and most of the time it ends in a divorce. So what can we do to go beyond the pain body? And the first step is what you just asked, is that, okay, I have these old survival mechanisms as far as why I keep attracting these partners. Now, how do I get to the next level as far as going beyond that? And it's asking that same question. So a step to do as far as moving past that is, it might be closing your eyes. It might be writing it down. Like, my ideal relationship would look like this. This is how I can grow. It's also getting very clear of what it is that you want to attract. More and often we think of linear things. We talk linear language, and that is, I want someone who golfs. I want someone who's this tall. I want someone who makes this amount of money. However, if you meet that person off of Match.com or whatever, it's like, oh my God, there's no attraction. Mm-hmm. Or you're with this person, he's very attractive, and there's no sexual polarity. So it's like, what's going on here? I think there are different factors that are very important. That is, what are your core values? And core values might be that in a relationship, I want to attract someone who's spiritual, who has these types of beliefs, because I know the world is constantly changing, and I'm going to change. My body's going to change. And I don't want to get caught up in the fear body, like, oh my God, you're going to leave me, but more that can we continue to co-create together and expand. And if I'm talking for myself too, if I were not to have a spiritual partner, a person who could see things on that, I guess, bigger scale, then I'd be caught up like everyone else in jumping in and out of relationships. It's about bringing that expansion to the relationship. Another important thing is, this is kind of a funny thing. I want a person who's sexual, like me. Mm-hmm. This is a funny exercise I do at workshops, and I'll have a group of people, and I'll ask them to give me the first 5 things that come to mind when you think of sexuality, and just do it quickly. You have 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and they will do that. And of course, I'll ask now, someone share the most spiritual, if you think is more spiritual connection to sexuality. And it's usually a woman, She says affection, connection, harmony, union. I say, and I'll ask, okay, so who do you think has the most explicit? And the guy raises his hand, and he'll say fellatio, 69. He'll say all these other things. And I ask the same question. And so these people meet, and they go on a date. Maybe into the third date, they're thinking, okay, we're now going to have sex. And she's playing Enya, and she's relaxed. She's like, she wants to move into it. She wants to kind of, she wants to be explored and take her time. And he's ripping his shirt off, has his pants down. He's like, let's go. And they're looking at each other, and he's saying, well, I thought you liked sex. And she's thinking, well, that's not my idea of sex. And so what are your core values? What does sexuality really mean to you, and how do you articulate that to a partner? What is your spiritual beliefs, and do you know how to articulate that to your partner? How important are emotions? In other words, like for me, I want a partner who is really in touch with herself. Therefore, she can hold space when I am going through things. She's not going to jump out. And so these are important things. What do you value more? And it never works when you try to think of linear things such as job, even the physicality. Of course, we want to be attracted to someone, but when it comes down to it, it's that unconscious attraction. And that is why there's so much turmoil in relationships, and that's why people break up. But if you show up with those core values and what that means to you, meaning you actually have a conversation about it. You might not have that coffee bean first date, but be prepared to have that conversation. You might be excited. The person might be hot. And you're like, oh my God, I want to jump your bones. But it's like, okay, it might end up being like every other relationship. Get to the core values. What's really important to you, and what would that look like in your life? Like, for give you one last example, I was starting to become closer to someone who I once was really into 8 years ago, and the reality is that we've really have grown apart spiritually. But she's like someone I'm very attracted to in many ways. She's just not in alignment to my path as far as me as a man and what I want to bring into this world. And so I'm thinking somewhere down the line that more than likely there's going to be that challenge, and I don't want her to have to change for me or her want me to change. And so, for example, I was able to because I love myself. I have a vision. I know what my purpose is here, is that the person I want to attract, this is my value, has to be in alignment with that and support that. Very important. But what happens is that we get caught up in our biology, we get caught up into trying to get someone to fill a void, and therefore that's why people break up, is because we're meeting out of desperation rather than getting to core values and what a relationship would look like to us now, not the old paradigms in which we were brought up with.
That makes a lot of sense, and it takes a little bit of, I think, courage to say, okay, this is not exactly in alignment with my value, and I'm going to, pass up on what might seem like a really good thing. And I'm curious, because you mentioned, we have to know our values and then have the conversation. But even me, just even thinking about that a little bit, and I work in this area, I got a little bit of a fear factor. So how would you suggest, and I feel like maybe this is just in my own mind, it might be a little bit more difficult for women, the idea of being oh, this is what I want in a relationship. We've been told so many different things, don't say it, do say it. How do we have that conversation with somebody about what we really want in a relationship?
What's really attractive about women is, and that's when a woman is connected to love itself and the expression of love itself. And you sometimes, I don't know her personally, but let's just say Sophie Loren. I mean, it's kind of that when women kind of have this connection to that confidence, and I'm not talking about confidence like a man in a masculine way. I'm talking about where no matter what, when they walk outside, they know that their smile brings beauty to his planet. That is attractive. When a woman can connect to different archetypes within herself, meaning that if she needs help, she can be soft and be childlike. And I'm not talking about childish where she's a victim. I'm talking about I need help right now. Or when he needs help and where he needs to be bandaged, that she can step up and be kind of more that mother divine. That's going to be attractive. There's different energies in which women can connect to as far as and embodying that and being able to bring that to the relationship. So to your question, it's not so much what to say, what to do, what to not do. It's more when you bring that, you are inviting him in a way to just be himself, meaning him to step up. That by you connecting to your truth and whatever archetype experience that you're going through, that you don't have to worry about so much what to do or what words to say. Just your existence is beautiful. Mm-hmm. But what happens is that women are trying to change so many things, coming from more, I guess I would say, a masculine perspective. It's like, okay, let's change this. Let's start going to the gym. But if a woman starts going to the gym, and what is really going on is that she's so structured in her life, even though she looks really good, when she shows up to this date or this experience, she has so much rigidity in her body, then he doesn't know where to fit. Because the reality is that, he wants there to be an experience where he's not with another dude. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, she's intense. And like one thing that's very inviting for women, think about this for a moment. A woman could be having a conversation with a man, a deep conversation, and a little child can walk by, or a poodle or whatever, and she'll stop. Most women are like, oh. Mm-hmm. She can go to her heart. And it's socially accepted, and it's beautiful, and so forth. That type of energy, that type of invitation is the same thing that women can do as far as with men by her looking at him and her already embodying all those archetypes I'm talking about. Like, if I give you another example, if I were a man, I were coming home and had and I was married to this woman, and I was stressed out, and we're at dinner, and I would say, yeah, Bob is kind of being a jerk. He wants me to produce the whatever, and she says, well, you know what you should do? You should, if you take care of this, you talk to Bob this way. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, it's a conversation in the head. It's not bringing me to my heart. Her being able to look at me with softness. And being able to it might be her cooking something for me. And I'm not talking about the 1950s model. I'm talking about just her being able to invite me into her softness. That's where we're going to have that harmony. It's why more often you see couples argue about finances. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with her. Her being busy and her, talking about her problems, and men are trying to fix it. This is what you should do. What if he were to put his hand right on her heart and take a deep breath in and just say, let's talk about this. Would you like to get some ice cream? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She'd be like, really? You get me. And all of a sudden you start eating ice cream and she forgets about the problem. We have to get beyond the words and get into our bodies and our true essence. And that takes practicing that every day. So I keep kind of giving you a long answer. It's like, what rituals are you creating every day to feel sexy and alive as a woman? Do you find yourself being more the hunter because you're like trying to build this business, you're a relationship coach, but if you're doing all to doing, it puts you back into that energetically, and energy follows thoughts. Hormones follow those thoughts. And so when women are in their heads trying to do, it releases cortisol in their body. It also messes with their estrogen level where it makes them more moody. That's why women who work a lot, oftentimes they're so out of balance. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this is with men also. With men, it could be where a man loses his job, he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and he's feeling really crappy about himself. His testosterone level might start to lower, and there's no libido. And, where the woman starts becoming more the man in a relationship. This happens in relationships, going back to what this is all about, creating lasting love. Is it love, or is it also being aware of our bodies and being able to move with circumstances and bringing harmony to that and being able to connect back to our essence so we can polarize ourselves to this harmonious place?
I so agree, Dr. Ray. I tell my clients all the time, it really is about how you're being. And it's funny you mentioned archetypes because I'll have them create characters for themselves, different versions of themselves, but that they can step into. And I know, work for women, working on our femininity, it seems to be a big thing these days because a lot of us are really so masculine in our careers. And I know that a lot of relationships, kind of the passion dies out because there's a lack of polarity. So do you have any tips in terms of if people are in a relationship and maybe the intimacy has died down or it's fizzled, how can they get that back? Assuming this is a relationship that they do want to stay in for a long time.
It's a great question. It's actually renegotiating first. It might be, what is your idea of a relationship now? I mean, they might have been married for 20 years, but you might be two different people. It's renegotiating. It's like, what would be your ideal relationship? Then the next step might be, what do you feel are our blocks? What are our blocks as individuals? Like, what are the hang-ups? For example, they might feel as though they're sexually not compatible, but it might be that she was sexually abused. She needs to work on that. There are core stuff that we bring into relationships. So the way that we equally participate is by working on that. But as far as what that might look like, two people together, it might be that renegotiation. Next step is being able to maybe just even look at each other in the eyes without anything happening, and where she's looking at his left eye, and they're looking at both left eyes, which is connected to the more emotional brain, and being able to slow down their breath and connect to more of that essence and that flow, not in the head, not from history, but that now moment. They might find themselves completely crying. Their relationship might shift. It might like all of a sudden go into like a honeymoon phase because it's like, wait a minute, I realize that I've hurt you all these years, and you've been trying to tell me something, but for somehow I haven't been able to receive that for whatever reason because I was so caught up in what you didn't do for me 10 years ago. It's like when it really comes down to it, miracles and change happens in the now. So it's about the couple being able to sit with each other and breathing with each other. Another exercise that really is a wonderful one that I do with couples sometimes, it's where I'll have the man cuddle his wife or girlfriend, where he's like holding her on the ground, positioned a certain way, and she might feel rigid. She might feel like resistance, and he feels that. And that's what happens in conversations. And he's doing nothing but opening up his arms. And whatever comes up in these fights is happening right now through her body language. And she might say, I don't trust you. I don't know if you can hold me. And that brings up something. But if she can relax and be a receiver, and it's not supposed to be a sexual thing. Like, it's not about him, like, trying to woo her and also do something with her. It's because most women, when men are holding them or touching them, and it's to lead to, like, maybe possibly sex. Sometimes women resist because it's like, come on, I just want to be held. Yeah. Women ask for that more only because there seems to be an agenda all the time. It's very performance-driven. But imagine a man holding that woman. Then I have him switch. And he's in her lap, and she is holding him. And she starts to cry. And it's because it's the first time she feels as though he is receiving her. I mean, he cooks. The reason why she stopped cooking him dinner or doing, say, these feminine things that she really likes is because he was so much in his head. When they're eating dinner, he's text messaging. And for the first time, she's connecting the fact that she really wants him to be able to experience her. And he realizes that. So it's through exercises in which two people can connect, like literally, but also talk about what comes up. And this short little segment I'm doing with you, it's, I can't demonstrate that, but I guess maybe they can find it on my website, or they now know where to look. This is what this is all about.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just want to ask you. I saw something on your site that said that you know this, but what is the key ingredient in loving relationships that last more than 20 years? Is there one?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I just shared. It's continue to renegotiate the relationship,
okay.
And it's going through the different stages, and I'm going to go through them very quickly.
Awesome.
The first stage is that we come from ego. It's like, how can you complete me? It might look like the macho jerk. It might look like the submissive housewife. There's a lot of victimization. There's jealousy. It might look like the Jerry Springer show, okay? And That's like the more primordial phase, I guess. The second one is like the compromise. It's where you're trying to get along with this person, and it might be a man developing his femininity. It might be a woman developing her masculinity, where it becomes two people who are very independent. They don't really need each other. Therefore, in these types of relationships, there might not be that polarity. There might not be that sexual tension because they're kind of balanced people, which is okay. But how's that work in relationships? Because if you both are working really hard, and you come together, and he's more feminine because he's tired, and she's more feminine because, well, that's just her true essence, and maybe she's tired. What do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? I don't know. And then they don't go on a date for a whole year, 2 years. Maybe they don't have sex. So these two people, but they don't fight. To the rest of the world, they go to like barbecues. Oh, Bill and Martha, they look like a great couple, and they have no idea they haven't had sex in 3 years. They never fight. If there's no tension in a relationship, then someone doesn't belong there. Okay, so that's the second stage. The third stage is where you embody that primordial part of yourself, where it's like you're willing to tell your wife that, hey, that's not helping you, and you're willing to risk that she might walk away from you. And you're saying it with love. You might get into an argument, but you stay strong because you love her. It's taking those chances. It's about her being able to embody all those different archetypes that we mentioned, being able to be a receiver, and also being able to take care of him. It's also being able to be his buddy for a moment. I mean, by the way, a lot of women say, I just want a best friend. Well, what you might get is that, and there's going to be no sexual polarity, and he's going to be masturbating to porn or whatever, okay? Okay. I'm just saying is that you can be his friend, but you also want to be that sexy vixen. You might even want to be called the divine slut, where you can be spiritual and also very sexy at the same time. The third stage is where you embody all of it. It's the primal part of yourself. It's the kind of getting along, and it's also getting to this other place where you know that you're not in this relationship to complete each other. You're in this relationship to help each other grow. That you know that when you make love, you make it a much better place for your children in the world and just for everyone. It's that you come together to gift each other. And then there's a fourth stage, and that might be where it's no longer about the physical relationship. There might not be a whole lot of sex, but it's like where you kind of are like, it's kind of like Gandhi. I mean, like, I don't know if you know, but his wife kind of renounced their like partnership in a way as far as a married couple. She became like the disciple, and it was just more that, I'm not saying that women or men should surrender that way, but I'm just trying to use that model where she knew that what he had to do on this planet was much bigger than staying together as this typical married couple. Think about that in a way. If people sometimes stay married just so those two people can stay happy. But how's that serving everyone? So the third stage is having it all. And just bring that magic into this planet. My parents are they've been together for 50 years. Wow. They are like that. My mom dances, she performs, I mean, she creates distraction and tasks. She pisses off my father sometimes. He takes care of her. He's a stand-up guy. He's 86. She's 77. She takes him to doctors if he needs help. They go back and forth. They're both playful. He can step into all those different archetypes also. And they've been together for a long time. I don't think they're having genital sex, but they are very passionate sexual people, meaning that she's okay with being girly sometimes. She's 77, and she can do that. It's funny. I go home, and sometimes when I stay at home, I'm visiting, and I'll go into my old bedroom. She'll hide like little dolls, like this little monkey, like on the pillow. She'll do like goofy, playful things, like little pranks sometimes. It's very feminine. It's like how little girls will do with they'll put like they want their dad to see their doll. They want them to recognize their new toy and whatever. They want that connection. It's the same thing. My mom hasn't lost that, nor has my father in his masculine way. He loves to be able to help and gift. And he didn't live a healthy life. He smoked a lot. He drank a lot. He was shot. He was in many wars. He's still alive because they have that beautiful sexual polarity and they're connected to their essence.
I love that story. And Dr. Ray, you've given us lots of great tips, but I know our viewers are going to want to learn more about you, and I know you have a free gift for us, so why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, well, actually, on my website, can I say the website here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's raydoktor.com. It's RAYDOKTOR.com. And if you go to my website, there are 3 different videos I have that actually help a person break down their old paradigms, and there's another exercise in there where it's like this hand movement, and you breathe in your body. It's actually kind of what I shared here to also get clear what it is that you want. And I think the third exercise is it's a little bit NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where you really get clear with that ideal relationship and whether you are in one or you like to attract that. So it goes through the whole, kind of the process we went through of breaking it down, understanding it, and recreating what it is that you want.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Ray.
I have no idea when this will, this will probably be continuing to be seen, but I continue to put new stuff up on my website.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks so much for your insights and for being a guest on the Lasting Love series.
All right.
Bye.
See you later.